What I've got here is a beef tenderloin, and I've got to take the silver skin off, take the head off here, and finally chop it into what we're gonna have is our fillets and stuff. So I'll go ahead and get started. I've already sharpened my knife, so I'm ready to go. What I wanna first do is I wanna kind of separate this a little bit with my hand, because it'll make it easier to follow the line, and I'll get a little more yield if I do that. And you just want to kind of cut these easy, kind of get through there. If you can separate this mostly with your hand, you're going to get so much more yield out of your beef tenderloin and then get your fillets from there. So that's what I've done, and I'm just separating that as much as I can so I can get as much yield as possible. Don't worry about this silver skin, we'll get that off here in a little bit. So once I've got a good separation here, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my knife and I'm just gonna cut along that edge there, trying to save as much of that as I can. And then when I get to the edge here, I'm gonna literally just keep it straight across there. So I'm just gonna try and go right along there. Okay. If you see, now I've got a really nice start of a fillet, and I'll cut all this fat off and stuff, get this silver skin off. And you got a couple ways you can do this. This really heavy fat and stuff, you can just cut that off. You don't want that. That's so hard, it won't render down and stuff. A lot of this membrane here, you can literally pull most of this off, and we're gonna have the separation here, because you want to get this off as well. And again, you're just gonna pull it back as much as you can, trying to save as much of that loin as you can. And then when you get up to the top here, you're gonna want to save some of this. So let's go along here and then kind of come out, okay? So I'm getting my loin to the point where I'm going to be able to keep what I want. And I'll get something out of here as well, but that's the head. So what I want to do is I want to get underneath that silver skin, and there's a couple ways to do this. Some people come from the top, and they'll try and get as much of that silver skin off as possible. What I like to do is go to the bottom, and you get that silver skin off a little bit. Get your knife underneath there, and hopefully today will work. We'll see. You can sometimes follow that silver skin, get a little more yield. If I started the cut right, there we go. Okay, I'm not a pro, but what I like to do is go right along that thing. To get as much yield as I can. And you'll see I have very little waste on that piece there. Almost none. Set that to the side, then I'll just go back and clean up a little bit that I didn't get. Okay. A little more here. The reason you cut that silver skin off is it's not edible. I mean, it doesn't render down, and it's just really tough, and it's not pleasing. So get as much of that off as you can. That'll make this really, really good. Okay. So I'm flipping this around, just kind of seeing what else I'd like to take off. All right, that looks pretty good. If you notice, this is not a full loin. This is the end, okay? Sometimes the end is, you know, you get, this is really what your fillet is when you go to a restaurant, you say, oh, I want a filet mignon. This is your filet. The rest of it is a beef tenderloin. So it's just that end piece is really your filet. So what I like to do, I want to get it nice and shaped. I got a little more fat here, one off. So I get it nice and shaped here. And then what I'm doing is I'm trying to section out how many fillets I think I'm going to get. This is a really small one, so I probably will only get maybe 3. So I like them 2 inches thick. You might want them an inch thick, whatever, but I like them an inch thick. And you notice when I cut through here, it's one cut. Why do I do one cut? Because it makes it way smoother, right? So there's my one fillet. All right, and then I'm going to look here. As you notice, it's getting narrower, so I want to make sure I get more yield out of this, you know, because it's going to be a really good steak, I hope. Okay, so I'm going to maybe I will get 2 more. Let's see. Yeah, I will. So again, just one solid cut, right? Down and back. Again, you get a nice little, okay. And then finally, I get my last cut. Now notice, these might be a little thicker, but I'm gonna shape those, okay? So I'm just gonna come down here. One cut through. Nice. Okay. And then this one here, what I'll do is I'll kind of mash it down a little bit. Get a nice little look at it. And what I'm going to do with these to keep my shape, because you'll find out that tenderloin, sometimes if you cook it and you don't get a good shape on it, I'll put some string on these and put them in the fridge, probably for about an hour, kind of let them set up. And this is early in the morning, so probably what I'll do is I'll put a string on them, let them set up for the afternoon and stuff like that. Go play some pickleball and have some fun, and go from there. But I think I'm gonna get one more fillet, and this is out of the head. So what I'm doing is I wanna cut this down. I wanna get rid of some of this stuff here because I wanna get it squared off, all right? And I'm gonna get this silver skin off here and stuff. Nobody wants that stuff, that's gross. A lot of times you can pull it off. Get a lot of that little bitty fat off. You know, your fille's not really your fatty part of the beef. It's really just really tender, and that's what you're going for. You're looking for that tenderness. All right, and just make sure I got that looked over. Go ahead and get that all flayed out. You want to get this, anything that's heavy fat like that, you want to get that heavy fat off. You know, that's not what you're looking for when you're looking for a fillet. If I'm looking at a ribeye or something like that, I want to keep that fat because that's where that flavor is. But when I'm looking at a beef tenderloin or a fillet, I'm looking for the actual texture of the meat, because we know that, you know, they're really, really tender. So the head here, sometimes you only get one, maybe you get 2 out of there. Looks like we're gonna go ahead and get 2 out of this. That's nice. So instead of 4, we're gonna go ahead and get 6. So I wanna look at this. I've got them squared off pretty good. I'm probably just gonna cut it right down the middle. Okay, again, nice and flat. I'm gonna take my hands, I'm just gonna get that set up, and I'll put string on that again, just like I do the other ones, right? I like to take from the fat end down. All right, cool. So it looks like we've got 6 good ones here, and these are gonna be cooked down. I'll probably put a couple in the fridge for the week, and then we'll just go ahead and get them going. I might do them a little bit different. We may do a little marinade on some. Some we're just gonna cook them straight up in our made-in pans that I got. Love those pans, they're awesome. If you don't have a set, try them out. Should be fun. So thanks a lot. We'll talk to you soon.